Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Partnership of Greatness. This Partnership of Greatness is different from the normal one we normally do with my wife. You know, in Bemba, there is a saying that ubushiku mumushimufuire nsofu neri ashiriba mumushi lya nsofu. Those of you from Eastern Province, I need not to interpret, because even if I interpret, you won't catch it. But I'm so grateful to have in the studio a man that has saved Zambia, the man that has been there for Zambia. And as we look at the tribute of President Rupia Bwezani-Banda, I want to seek the advice and the words from one of the senior citizens in the studio with me. Please help me to welcome Honorable Gaston Sichilima. Sir, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Pastor.
And condolences for the bereavement.
Thank you so much, and just join in to say condolences to and to the Zambian people.
Before we go any further, I'll ask my director to play us a song for our late departed president. But just before the song comes, Honorable, my wife and I were discussing and asking ourselves a question. Is there any other country in Africa or around the world where you lose presidents like this, one after another? These are fathers, these are pillars of the nation. And vashikulu valeti umushiwa bulava kote fipuba filafula. Now if the elderly people are being wiped out like this, former presidents, how do you see this situation?
Well, Pastor, like you rightly said, it's very devastating. I'm not that old, but then you live to see elders going one after the other. And these are the ones, if you look at it politically, who fought for this country, who worked for this country. They had the vision. And I look at it like it's so empty now. Because you look at the back and you want to consult, you find that the elders are not there. It's just the young ones. It's very threatening, but to answer your question, I can't imagine any country, particularly in Africa, that we have seen this is happening. Our colleagues, I might say, maybe they are lucky. Their statesmen are still alive. And personally, when you see this is happening, the vacuum of wisdom falls in. Yes, death has its own way of coming in. Nobody is ever prepared for this. But the number of which we have lost our president, I want to repeat that it's quite scaring. Generation to another generation is supposed to be a baton being taken. Like this country is a democratic country. We expect one leader coming after the other. With that little competition we call elections. They are voted in, they come in, they do their part, meaning save the country, and we leave it to the other one that at least we should have somebody that we are able to rush to go and consult in the event of something. When you look at President Kaunda, I grew up to live and to see him doing all great works Yes, it came a time when we said, no, I think he has lost his team, he can't do that. They came the late President Chiluba, he did his race. Then we had President Mwanawasa. Then you had
President Rupia Banda.
President Rupia Banda, President Isata. But all these, if I were to touch a bit of my side and experience, I've worked with all of them. You only realize when you have lost the reach culturally and wisdom that these people had. I was privileged to interview, now that I was in politics, trying to find out from President Kaunda, the few times that I visited him, you find he is a humble person.
That rich background is what I need.
Yeah. So
Honorable, and I want you not to preempt for now,
okay,
because I want you to put things in a sequence. As we, beginning from Dr. Kaunda, our founding father, one of our founding fathers, and I want us to run through probably also to President Rupia Banda. But for now, I want to play this song, which was done by the young people, and I was privileged that they found me here, and they said, Pastor, we have brought a song for our father who has departed. I said, please take it to the technical people. Let them start playing it immediately. I would like you to listen to this song. Mr. Director, give us a song.
We will accept the results. We are a democratic party, and we know no other way.
That passion is about love. We must love one another.
Ibalume ya talo Jesu ya umuvyaji wesu ya halale mutibote until we meet again. Halale mutibote until we meet again. Charlie ni pachongolo chituche kofyene bila ya fika tato kuna tusha yangu wefifi watu ponena buchitukala lufyafya bafyashi busaba tuteka baya tata kasi wefo wabashandi ibalume ya talo Jesu ya umuvyaji wesu ya halale mutibote until we meet again. Halale mutibote until we meet again. Napukute filamba momenso Bala fyaka baratintushe Namona fiku mbili afita Kanshi kuleisa malilo Ala wifa walibipo Watu zilele mutimi kwa wesiwe Watote menwewa halale mutibote until we meet again. chifukwa na muntu aliyense palipose piakala bantu bose benzoseka mwenzo kwilanisa chalo chatu dadi majoksi yanu tizaya ewa kani tundila papa lupia mulale muchibote
na ukamutulo na umfue misoa ati lelo wakateka wabika pweloba ilesa tulo lekeshepo dei mufila mbefyo twalufyanya nindo nine rapa tindile mulwimbo shawa solwe chalenga chikonko 50 plus epotopoko untungwa koma kumfwa tatwaba pwaba ntungwa mwe malida na twendele fecha pa mwe misepela ne kalemba na twendele fecha pa mo tafi balansa nangu kwesho kushikamo mushili twala lepula bafule wotwa shikamo mafi
Halale mutibote until we meet again. Halale mutibote until we meet again.
Oh, that's a song, a tribute to President Rupia Bwesanbanda, our fourth Republican president. Now, before we get into the details of remembering this soldier and ambassador of our country, we are going to ask Honorable Gaston Sichilima. Honorable, Camnet TV has got viewers who are family members like yourself.
Thank you.
When you are not on set, there are people out there viewing this program. Would you tell the nation who Honorable Gaston Sichilima is and where you saved in this nation? And just that background is enough, then we come back to what we need to discuss tonight.
Well, Gaston Sichilima, and those that may know me, I have 3 names: Gaston Fred Sichilima. Born and bred in Imbala, from Harrison and Efa, Harrison Sichilima and Efa Nambea. My father was a businessman, died 2005. In fact, when he died, 2005, I was a minister. He was UNIP. But I was a minister in MMB.
He was still staying in Imbala?
He was still staying in Imbala. He's left a small dwelling house, 5-bedroom house, at a farm. He took us to the farm, 1967. That's when he built that farm. Apparently, he was one of the first Zambian African to keep dairy cows, broilers and layers, chickens. And in Imbala, to build a shop, he was, I think, the second one after a Mr. Matwai Simpasa, to build near town. The first permit that he had to build a shop near Mbala town was 22 kilometers. So 1967, late 67, he was allowed to build a shop on a new location. It was actually a bush. I grew up there. I was fed. I went to school.
So shops like Ten Kwacha?
Ten Kwacha is actually was a young brother.
The Ten Kwacha man?
Yes, Ten Kwacha man was a young brother. My father was Tek Mwenzo.
Because I did my grade 3, 4 at Mbala Primary School.
I started from Mbala Primary School.
That UCZ church.
Yes.
Opposite Mbala.
Exactly.
The Reverend there, Reverend Noah Chulo, was my uncle. That's where we were staying.
I remember very well. I was very young. I was baptized in that actual very church UCZ.
My goodness. Why should we know this history on TV when we could have talked about it outside?
So I was groomed by this man, and I grew with a few others. As we were growing up, that's how I met people like George Mwambazi. My colleague, brother, GBM was in Kasama. The parents were also businessmen in Kasama. It's not far. We interacted because we were going to school. Is one of those that I admire the way I was growing up.
Oh.
GBM. And he started business very, very young. If I can remember, when we were about in grade 6, that man had his own car.
GBM.
So the money we see with him is not by design. It's just hard work. Yeah, I know many people may not know. So emulating him, when I was about 18, I opened up a disco house, which was not very well received by the Christian, because my father was a lay preacher. I abandoned that. I started photographing. I'm not trained as a photographer, but I started photographing. Even now, as I speak to you, I've got equipment, cameras. I went into music system. And of course, I went into business. I would make a bit of the money, go to school. I think at 21, 22, I took over the responsibility of taking and supporting my sisters, even if my father had his own money. He was not that rich, but I think he was comfortable to take us, all of us, to school. I used to fly on Zambia Airways sometimes from Mbala into school. When I moved into Kabwe, I would fly into Lusaka and go to school. I went to Mbala Secondary School briefly. On a lighter note, in Form 1, I was driving. He bought me a car, but that car had conditions. Never to be driven to school. But you know, boys being what they are. I would sneak out until one teacher, Indian, a Mr. Patel, grabbed the car and he told me off that you keep showing off here. Your father's riches are not yours. Then it flipped. I was an average student. It made me realize what definitely I needed to be, because my father was very, very passionate. I moved to Kabwe. I went to High Ridge Secondary School. And then later on, I went to complete at Parokosa Secondary School. My engineering started with Nortec. Before I could even graduate at Nortec, I was employed by ZCCM. Of course, with the ability of what I was doing there. At Nortec, I think I did assemble one of the grader that people didn't expect I could do. The mines picked me up. I went into the mines. I didn't work for long, but the total years were 14 years. I worked in all divisions. I started from Chidila-Bombwe. I worked in all divisions. I settled in Luansha. During my work in the CCM, I was identified by Mr. Francis Kaunda. We had the general manager Manchanya, we had the Chileshe, we had Shamtete, Mr. Littleford, and a few others. While I was working, I must mention that I was in the underground movement of UNIP. But because I was rising quite fast, some of it I was restricted. So fast forward, I was identified by the late President Kaunda. And that time he came to realize that I was the son of one of his men a UNIP man and a freedom fighter in Mbala. I would share something that one time when I wanted to resign, of course, which I did, and I headed for Germany, hoping to go to Australia. And we were very few at the time, because when we joined the mines, we were actually taking after the whites, not directly, because he had brought in people from Philippines, called the Filipinos. I'm sure my colleagues will remember what they were called at the time. But quickly I wanted to resign and go out of the country. The networking that President Kaunda had, as simple as I was, it was picked. And I'm coming out of the plane in Frankfurt. I only found these smart people. Those that worked to that particular time, we used to have letters that we signed because of strikes and all that, where you sign that you are essential worker, meaning you cannot resign. Now all that, when you are young, it all went out. So I'm coming out of Frankfurt airport, and I want to find this smart gentleman saying, "Are you Mr. Sichilima?" I said, "Yes." Step aside. We understand you come visiting and you're on your way to Australia. I said, "Yes." "How long are you staying in Germany?" I said, "I want to stay a month, which is 4 weeks. Apparently that's where I was trained, sent by the same UNIP government. And do you remember this? Now they're showing me a letter. Now the signature of KK, may he so rest in peace, was something that you can't miss. First you see the ego, and then you go down there, you see the signature, then you know you're in trouble. What's the problem? They said, we are only giving you 2 weeks in Frankfurt, 2 weeks in Heidelberg. You are not proceeding to Australia because it's an offense. Then it didn't mean, then they said, "Oh, you come on this side." Not knowing they had already spoken to my father by Keke. We used to call him Shimpund when he phones my dad. So they put in the coins in these old phones. I picked up, and then my dad was answering, "Dashimwana, bweleni uko muleyo uko, bashimpundu bale mfwaya, muitina nangu chimo." So I obliged. I didn't even stay a month. I had to come back. It was one of my first scaring meeting President Kaunda, because I was received, of course, with a new vehicle at the airport, ZCCM, driven, intercontinental. I rested. Before lunch, because the plane was arriving in the morning, I was ushered, not knowing there was another colleague of mine by the name of Sunga, I don't know where he is, and the 2 other gentlemen. We met at State House. When you're shaking hands with the KK, you're shivering, and the man will tell you, "My son, welcome. This is your home." You take seats. The meals came in. After we ate, the story changed. Don't you know that UNIP spent a lot of money to educate you? Don't you know that this is sabotage? We had no word. Then later on, he spoke like a father. "You're supposed to be taking leadership. We educated you because of this." He went on to explain, and we found ourselves, feeling homely. And he counseled us. And the reason why he educated us, the reason why we must work for the mines. Most of my friends didn't know this story, and we found ourselves back in the mines. But when I left the mine, I didn't give notice. I went on leave. To date, I'm on leave. Not even benefits I got, because I wanted to go into private sector, which I started in Luanshya.
So, can we go back and claim those benefits? I'm an interested party now.
I don't know even how much that is going to be. But of course, the credit goes to people like Mr. Francis Kaunda. My elder brother, the former Minister of Commerce, Honorable Chinga, was one of my bosses. Although I was in accounts, yes. We had Honorable Mkwakwa, Honorable Achipuka, and a few many others. So when now I was in politics, I'm trying to talk about the attribute of the presidents that we've had. I was appointed by President Mwanawasa to local government, first appointment. I received the letter from President Kaunda. This should have been your father to be a minister. He worked for this country. You work for the people as your father did. When I was reading the letter, I said, this is too big a shoe to step in. Now, those words were being repeated because even when I went to contest in Mbala, I met some of my father's colleagues who used to say, no, you don't even campaign here. You go further, maybe the next village. But one thing, ukabenga wisokubombera abantu. So it was very, very difficult. I would even be lying that I went in there and won elections because I was popular. It was the works of your father. But this comes back to the same leaders. The way Kaunda nurtured his colleagues, it was all based on discipline. President Kaunda's memory, you can't equal to most of the people that I've worked with. He would remember and would tell you exactly what happened. I had an opportunity to interact with him. And I asked, what was on your mind when you got independence? Why didn't you do things like, building skyscrapers? Particularly, I asked about Kafue Gorge. Kafue Gorge is 0.2 kilometers, if I stand to be corrected, diverting the river underground, and you have turbines generating power. He laughed and he said, you haven't asked me one thing. I didn't have engineers apart from Andrew Kashta. None of us were educated as you young people are now, because he knew I was an engineer. But you young people, you haven't done much.
So that appointment, Honorable, by President Levi Mwanawasa, it was initiated by President Kaunda?
No.
How did the
appointment, after we won the elections, had been working, like I said, from UNIP. We abandoned the President Kaunda. We jumped on the bandwagon of President Chilua. I was still in the youth movement. I was one time the chairman of MMD in the Copper Belt. I left it quickly because then I was identified by the late President Michael Chilufya Sata. The time when he was having a bit of difficulties organizing the youths in Lusaka, because the youths in Lusaka and the Copper Belt, they were a bit different. Even working environment, you have youths that would complete school, graduate, they come to the mines, they wouldn't last, they would come back to Lusaka, and vice versa. So with President Chiluba, I moved. Until came to a time of Mwanawasa. Because I was linked to President Chiluba with the Penzas, the Mbita Chitala today, Dean Mungomba, my friend Ben Mwinga, we had
the Kafumukache.
Yes, the Kafumukaches. I was on the young side. Yes, I think that's even the time when I met Honorable Katere Kalumba. You remember the young turkeys? The Young Turkeys are those that at some point wanted to take leadership from President Chiluba. But President Chiluba would come out very smart and would pick it up. They started calling me Young Mbala Mafia because there were other old Mbala mafias that my mother, Princess Nakatini, were solacing with, and nicknamed us. So when we won the elections, I was one of the last people that Mwanawasa appointed. And in his statement, I remember very well, I attended that press conference. I was seated more or less like at the back. Then my name pops up. I didn't even hear what he had said. Later on, I picked it on the telly what exactly said. What I'm bringing in a hard-working young minister, and then you're sent to local government. Yeah. All this, I'm trying to explain the nature in which the present, from President Kaunda, President Chiluba, and took, you know, the people and how they ran out of this. So it was a bit difficult because I jumped from the young to that stage. Yes, of the youth, but I quickly learned. And if I'm to rush straight to President Mwanawasa, I think I became connected to him. And most of the times, when you are in Parliament, and he would be listening.
President Mwanawasa.
President Mwanawasa. Not even connected to my ministry, he would call when you're leaving Parliament. Such and such honorable was debating. We're in Parliament. I said, yes, Your Excellency. Where was the minister of, line minister of this? I said, I'm not too sure. I said, can you find out? I would need to have a write-up of what this honorable has been. Even if it's in the opposition, the next thing he would call that line ministry. I remember one time it was the Honorable Hamdudu was debating. I can't remember whether it was a Pemba MP from UPND. And he said, I would want you to come with him to State House tomorrow, 8 hours. Now, I was in local government. The Pemba MP was betting on something different, not related to local government. And I go and meet Pemba MP and said, the president would like to see you. And he would go there. And then he would call the line minister. Eventually, I earned the name of senior deputy minister because they thought I was reporting to them. They didn't realize that the president was quite attentive. One of the attributes that I can even echo, President Mwanawasa, even if it is in Kawusha, something is said in your constituency. In my case, it happened. The chiefs were complaining about me. And he said, you need to find your way to go and sort out the problem, you and the chiefs.
So at what point, Honorable, did you come in contact with the late President Rupia Bwezani-Banda?
President Bwezani-Banda, because I worked with the Mwanawasa. On party level, I was a one-time provincial chairman of Northern Province. After Mr. Rupando Mape, and we had my brother Griva. We saw the terrain of politics shifting, that the late President Sata was gaining ground on the PF into Northern Province. I must agree, quickly I learned that we are losing ground in some of the constituencies. So I tipped President Mwanawasa. And luckily, he kept on constantly consulting what is it that we can do. Now, interacting with my friends, we picked it that we definitely had to go east. meaning going to Eastern Province, because the time that I came into Parliament, we only had one member of Parliament from Mukaika, who is Honorable Peter Daka. The only one. The rest were UNIP and FDD. Now, my seat in Imbala was held by a UNIP old man at the time, but he was my grandfather, under UNIP. I went in. Now, everybody wondered, including the outgoing President Chiruba, how did I manage to win from the UNIP? So that little experience is what now President Mwanawasa sort of picking it, and we started working with what I can say, mobilizing from Eastern Province. I must mention, in a small way, he had already talked to Honorable Mlongoti the late, and we started working underground, identifying who we can work with. I know there were other stories. We worked until we thought we could even bring my sister, Honorable Dola Syria, then she was in Egypt, to come back and help to mobilize. Our friends from Eastern Province, they are Americans, but they are very slippery. We had to find a way. President Mwanawasa also was doing his own underground. So when we come in and report, later on he came to identify that we had to bring in President Rupia. He spoke to himself, one-to-one. And from there, I was sent to go and meet President Rupia Banda in Eastern Province.
You went there?
Yes.
Was this after he had retired?
Yes, after I had retired from politics. In fact, even when finding him, I went to his farm. I didn't find him. They told me he was in town. And in town, I found him with the colleagues. They were playing actually in solo at some shop. This will pick up for me to start picking to say how humble this man was. He was playing in solo, you know, the draft. I didn't realize that some meals were being cooked behind the shop. There's a young man, he's popularly known as Chala in Chipata. He had a little shop somewhere there. I saw the food coming in on a big plate, and we ate with President Rupia. Because he just said, wewe embekeza. Sunga embekeza kutu wabolesa chakudya. So you could not shun away that food. We ate, and then thereafter, we called him aside and said, look, we are sent by the president. I said, oh, well, so we sat somewhere and we offloaded. When it was now towards election, the president again, President Mwanawasa, went to ask him to help us campaign. That time of elections, I went to Northern Province and I was assigned that I need to deliver Lupando Mwape. Remember, then Lupando Mwape was the vice president. So I would campaign in my constituents and come to Lukasha. Campaign in my constituents and come to Lukasha. Sadly, we lost Lupando Mwape. The first phone call I received from President Mwanawasa was, you Northerners, you see what I'm going to do. Then I was scared and I whispered to my wife, I said, I don't think Natukwate in Chitoko. What has happened? I said, I don't know. Then I was summoned to come. Of course, I gave the report and he kept on repeating that. Later on, he sent me to go to Eastern Province. Mr. Rupia, then the president was in Chipata. We drove. In the night we were there. In the morning we met him. Not knowing the president had already spoken to him. That was before cabinet was appointed. he had asked him to find a vice president from Eastern Province. While we were there, the message comes in. He was offered, since you can't find a vice president, why don't you take it up? He came now and shared with me and says, "Well, Kamwana, in Chito Yapti, Ninkali vice president, Neo Yai, Ninkaramba Nakula. It needs young people like you to." But the president says, "Find somebody." Have you found somebody? He said, "No, actually, I was called that we should be going to Lusaka." That day we didn't travel, the following day. Of course, on separate transport, I had my own vehicle. He also came on his vehicle. I came to report. We didn't even know that the press conference was on. Then I walked into State House. The president came in, walked in the office. The private secretary, I remember, I think it must have been Mr. Mulimba, walked in and they said, "You wanted the Honorable Chirima, but there is Mr. Lupia." "Oh, no, tell Mr. Lupia to wait. Let me speak to Honorable Chirima." So I went in there. I reported a few other things. Of course, I went to see Chief Mpezeni, Zimawe, and a few others, and those that I was assigned to see. So I gave the report, and I walked out. When I walked out, the private secretary again walks in and said, "But Mr. Lupia is waiting." He said, No. I'll see him later." So we walked. To those, if you go to the video of that press conference, it was me and Mr. Lupia walking on a red carpet when the president was busy talking to other people, and off the carpet. We are going now where there is press conference. We just walked in, and then the people, the officers there said, "There is press conference," and the president says you have to accompany them this time. That's how we went. I sat just behind Mr. Lupia, and it went on. Mr. Lupando was seated in front, and then he went into appointments. Now, if you are a politician, I was a minister in the first cabinet of Mwanawasa, and then you don't see your name coming in. I became a bit jittery. Then one of the Easterner said, "You are past a ministry, Bwanja." No, they haven't answered, and we were whispering. Then next he says, "Yes, now I'm coming to the vice president." So one of the private secretary whispered to him, "I take it that you have left Gaston Chirima." They said, "Yes, Gaston Chirima." And before he could even mention the ministry he was taking to, I ended up having powders in my head, like I was appointed the vice president. No. Then later on, he appointed Mr. Lupia, President Banda, as a vice president. Now, he also was shocked. He turned around and said, "You man, what did you tell the president?" I said, "I didn't even discuss you." Now, then I forgot that he's appointed the vice president. I still pushed him. The same way I was joking with him. Said, because the Ndani Chabi, you were the president. Now I was pushing him from the chair. And my president Mwanawasa said, "Come and sit here." What I'm saying is, if you follow his life history, President Banda, most of these appointments, it's not that he lobbied for it, like fighting for it. It came in naturally. I would say God just directed that the man had to be this.
Tell me, Honorable, when President Mwanawasa died, may he so rest in peace, and President Rupiah Banda took over. Did he remember you? Were you in talking terms?
With President Rupiah?
Yes.
When first that happened, I would say all of us were confused, because the first thing that ever happened for a sitting president dying, I remember some of my colleagues, I remember said when they're saying senior deputy minister, those of my colleagues, deputy ministers, they started phoning in. What is it that we're supposed to do? All of us, we didn't know what to do next. We were even actually going to the office. But what now triggered was the appointing authority is gone. What are we? One interesting pastor that I can share with you and share to the nation. My driver then, Martin, I said, I need to buy at least 2 black shirts from Kamwala because the shops are closed. Let's go to Kamwala. Just when we parked there, a mentally ill person goes to the flag, because as we didn't know what to do with the flag, we were still flying them. The guy just came and splashed the flag. I was touched. I told Martin, I said, I'm not coming out of the car. Let's go home. That's the time when I started phoning my colleagues. I said, there is a problem. I don't think we even need to go to offices. And I reminded them, what if another president comes in? We have no job from another political party. Prior to that, my brother, Benton Tamashimba, had done something. He came to my house and he said, Mwana, tufai mpiani. Before we buried Mwana, I said, Ben, you can't do that. It's an African. He said, no. I said, don't do that. He left my house. Before he could even get to the house, he phones me. He said, no, I've called the press conference. I'm sure you remember when he said, we need to find somebody to take over. It was an issue debated and whatnot.
Then he was minister, right?
Yes, then he was a minister. Then he said, Mwana, I said find a president from Northern Province. You can't find. Northwestern, I want to tell you, we don't have a candidate from there. Luapula, we can't find a candidate. Let's try Eastern Province. Then I said to Tenda Mashimba, Eastern Province, it can only be Rupiah. Mwana, will he be accepted by the chiefs? Will he be accepted by our colleagues from Eastern Province? Of course, we consulted. Some of our colleagues would say no. Now, the funny part was that nobody was coming forward. So me and Tenda Mashimba was always on running to find out, because we knew what was going to actually happen if we were to lose elections to another political party. I just said, Mwana, we need to ask Rupiah. When we asked one of our colleagues from the Eastern Province, they said, no. They've asked him, he has refused. Because one thing that was clicking, the party MMD were a bit disoriented, not really organized, and we didn't expect the by-elections. We don't have a candidate. It wasn't actually coming in.
Now, fast forward, Honorable, I want you to offload a lot of things about President Rupiah Banda.
Yes.
Fast forward.
So fast forward to just finish this point. After consultation, I went to him. I found him in the house. I said, Your Excellency, I've got a very serious issue to ask you. He said, what? You wanted to sit in the house? I said, no. I got plastic chairs. We went into the garden. He sat there. I said, we want you as the candidate for the president. He said, no. I said, no. Wamena kutuma ni ndani. I said, what do you mean wamena nituma? I forgot that now he's the acting president. Now we're talking like cousins. Nangomeni wachupani, what are they saying? Said, when wachupani ni wandani, other than myself. Of course, I'm working with few others. Then I saw Madam Tandiwe coming in. Then joking, I said, yes, Madam First Lady. I went back to him. When he agreed, I said, let's shake hands. I don't like men who backpedal. When we shook hands, he just said, Mwana funonile telera. I walked. I called Tenta Mashimba. I missed that gentleman. Then he has agreed. Where are you? I said, I'm just leaving government house. I said, wait. Ben Tenta Mashimba came in and went to ask him. When he agreed, that was a turning point. Of course, politically, we had to have consensus. I can disclose that the first seed money, we traveled to go and ask the lower grassroots without even a neck knowing. I want to say this. The money came from Tenta Mashimba. By following day, Pastor, we were in Livingstone, but we touched Solowezi. From Solowezi, we flew into Southern Province. And the president, Rupia, was very upset because he heard statements throughout the district of newsreel. I remember that day he called. We said we were in Mazapuga, we were trying to have lunch. He said, you come here. How can you travel like this? I heard you were in Chingola. Because of course he had the system and they told him. He was so upset. We drove. In 2 hours time we were at government house. We found people now, they have crowded. To remember me, yes he did. When we went for elections, we won and he appointed me to go to office of the vice president to deputize Honorable George Kunda. May his soul rest in peace. Groomed to take up that position. He was a gentleman. So, President Rupia never fought for some of these positions. Of course, I had other big guns like Uncle Vijay, the Guru. I just picked up. We have no candidate. Uncle, what if we pick Rupia President Banda? He only answered in one affirmative word and said, that's the right candidate for now. We have no time. Then I called Mbita Chitala, who said, this is what I was telling you. That's the candidate we have to go. It was in some home that all this was discussed. He remembered me, take me to also the vice president. And I've worked with him very well. To me, President Rupia Banda was a father, a friend, and just a leader, a unique leader.
Tell me something, Honorable. During your working with him, there are these inclinations and tendencies in people once you assume power at whatever level to say, let me remember my tribe's people, like would here wako ni wako. Was President Banda a tribalist?
Pastor, I would take you back. The way President Kaunda groomed these people, maybe something that we don't know. Chiluba must have been a trade unionist, but interacted with Kaunda. President Mwanawasa, one time was, I think, Attorney General. President Rupia Banda himself, I'm sure we've heard on the media the rich background that he was actually groomed. President Michael Sat. President Michael Sat, I remember very well, I said I was in the mines. He was among the Kaunda boys, we used to call them. There were 12. We counted them. You're talking about Mpombo. There was a Mr. Walia, Kangwan Suluka, Peter Lishika, Kamalondo. There is my elder brother, Kenel, some Kenel. There were these governors, which definitely, even among them, we have heard that Mr. Rupia was the first senior governor. You know, there were all these appointments. So Kaunda groomed them. Especially of this One Zambia, One Nation. Mr. Rupia, he himself, he would sit down and he would tell you, he married a lady from Porogaso. When you look at the friends, yes, when you look at the friends, all from different corner of this country and beyond the boundaries of this Zambia. Even when it came to appointment, he looked at those that were able to, and especially that he was taking over. One of it that I learned from him, people would go there and say, Your Excellency, don't appoint Gaston Chidima or fire Gaston Chidima. You just turn around and go, well, achita change. With all these lies you report, no, he has done this, then you say, aha, you go. So that he can stop. You'll be shocked. You are at the airport shaking hands for him to go somewhere, and the two of them, you are two there, or maybe you are at a distance, then you turn around and go, Gaston, well, why are you doing this? Why did you do ABCD? Your friend, Honorable Mbele, told me you are doing ABCD. Well, Honorable Mbele, well, he was that type of a person. I remember even when they said, no, every president that come in, they change different chiefs. That's not the way you run the country. These people are on contract. They've got families. Wait until they finish their contracts. To finish their contracts, he renewed their contracts. He never believed in firing somebody. There is one that, yes, he fired, but he had very difficult times. I'm one of those that he sent to go and talk to one of my colleagues. Can you tell him to stop what he's doing? He is my son. You're supposed to take leadership from me.
You talked about the memory of the late president. He never used to forget people.
No.
Because I remember when in our young ministry with my wife, he had just dropped his seat as a governor of Lusaka. Then when UNIP was facing the uprising of MMD, yes, then he was so down to earth that he called my wife and I to go to his Chila house, the one, Chila Road in Kablonga. That house in Kablonga. He called my wife and I. We went there. We had a very quality time, and we spoke about a number of things. Then he asked for prayers. I prayed for him and the late wife. We left. But one good thing also, years later, his vice president, my wife and I were studying law at NIPA, diploma in law. So they gave me a seat on the southern side of the podium. because I was on the program to pray for the students and everything. So I sat there with my wife. He was vice president. He came, he addressed the people, he addressed the audience, and then they said it was time for the president, vice president to leave. He left the podium, amazing enough, Honorable Sichilima, about 12-15 steps from the podium. He remembered seeing Pastor Chiluba, and security people were wondering where he was going again. He turned and he came to greet my wife and I. He said, Pastor Chiluba, in what language was he speaking? Chewa?
Yeah, now I
Senga,
because of him, I've even come to learn now some of the history. I think it was the Chewa.
I think Chewa.
Chewa.
He says, Nezofuna kuluta kusia pastor wangu. He spoke in and we spoke there. He greeted me, we chatted, then he left. You know, he was so down to earth that you do not sense, he is our father, he is our vice president, but he would bring himself to a low position.
The low position that one person met me in the street and said, I didn't know you worked with a man with such rich background. One of it, Pastor, that I can remind, and you and tell the nation, the humbleness, one of it that I experienced. We were in a by-election in Luingu. We were going to, I think, Chief Katuta. The motorcade, you know the speed of the motorcade, eh? We are going. Now there was this old
president.
Yes, he's a, no. He was a vice president. We are going on that route. And the man who worked with him in Nambod heard that Mr. Rupia will be passing through here going to Katuta, Chief Katuta. And the man got the chair and he sat. His mind was just to come and wave at Rupia Banda passing. Us not knowing when we passed, he looked at this man and he made the motorcade stop almost about, I think, 500 meters to make a U-turn to go and see that man. One that I found out from him, the old people, you remember the mother died when he was the vice president. The old people, man or a woman, he would say, oh, just looking like my mother, you know, that love, and children. You can't take it out from him. When we stopped there, he says, Mwaya wa chama, Mukalipo. He identified the man when the vehicle was passing and knew that was Mr. Chama I was working with in Nambod.
In the 70s.
The man stood up and just said, na chilafa ya fenangu inkuwe vefyeru pia ni wewe. You came to live here after you retired at CS. And the man, of course, went in to explain what he was doing. He said, no, akakane kama ishukuru waka ekale nsunga. Then he turned around. Are you working? Asking the young lady. He says no. Then he called one of the police officers. Mayok, where is the Honorable Sichilima? Because I was the chairman and we were campaigning in that area. He called. He said, this man, I worked with him in Nambod and he has a young girl who is not working. I think we need to help the young girl either go to school or go to work. How far did you go in school? He said grade 12. Then I remember the medical assistant, I think from Luingu, who said, Your Excellency, we're actually employing school leavers to help out in cleaning at a hospital. He said, here you are, Gaston, you follow it up. We campaigned and we won. We came back. I thought the man had forgotten. With his own money, not government money, he sent me to go back to Luingu. When I followed it up, Pastor, I can testify, the young girl was looking after that man. She's a nurse today. You'll be flying, you are in a chopper. You're about to land. And you know the duty of the police officers to whisk away the children and whatever. So one officer whisked the child very roughly. We are up there and says, Mwanawul, you don't treat children like that. And when we came out, before he could even greet anybody, he called this police officer. You don't treat a child like that. Where is that child? So they brought that child. He walked with that child to greet people, and even when we had the meeting, he had that child on his palm. Before we left, he asked for the mother of that child. That was at Pia Banda.
You know, it's wonderful memories. I want, before we continue, I want you to talk about the economical side of the man Rupia Banda, because I believe he sustained the economy well. But before we go to that, I want my director to just give us, refresh our minds with a clip of President Rupia Banda.
Against, you need to deal. Look at it. Look at it. I shouldn't do it. That's the one I'm sending to Mr. Swata. We will accept the results. We are a democratic party and we know no other way. It is not for us to deny the Zambian people. We never rigged, we never cheated, we never knowingly abused state funds. We simply did what we thought was best for Zambia. I hope the next government will act likewise in years to come. Especially in view of my experience as having stood for an election as an incumbent president and lost and conceded. I felt that I contributed something to my country. If I had not done that at that time, most probably the situation would be different now in our country. So it's worth emulating. Yeah, I know people call me all kinds of names, but I think that I did the right thing. If you want to avoid what happened in 2008, emulate me and accept the verdict of the people. We are not in this just for our personal glory that, you know, this and that. No, we're in this for the people. And if the people are not happy, it doesn't matter what you think. You fail. It's as simple as that. Unfortunately, I speak up. The people, we are not happy. So why don't we sit down and think about it together without, taking it personally? We can't even ask ourselves, what should we do better? If you ask that person, no, you're against me. It can't be. Nobody's against anybody here. We're all brothers and sisters. We're all Zambians. We all want what is the best for us. Historically, since we gained independence in 1964, we have lived as one people. We fought the colonial masters together. We never looked at one's tribe, race, gender, or religion. We were united so that we could live in harmony as brothers and sisters and enjoy the fruits of our land as one people. Since the reintroduction of multi-party politics in Zambia in 1990, we have held several peaceful and democratic elections. As a country, we can be proud of the manner in which we resolve electoral disputes. Aggrieved parties use the judiciary to challenge electoral outcomes that they are displeased with. We should continue with this good tradition. During my tenure as president, I emphasized the importance of contesting parties to respect the will of the people. I wish to remind the contestants in this year's elections that every election has winners and losers. Any attempt by any entity acting alone or in concert with others to impose a leadership outside the concept of one man, one vote will be an assault on the sacrifices of our founding fathers and will imperil the sovereignty and independence of the country, and also jeopardize the peace and unity of this generation and those to come. We have chosen for ourselves a system that gives legitimacy to those in government through the ballot box. I thank you to my brothers, the other 4 presidents, for taking time to come here and for giving my wife and myself and the rest of my family the honor of receiving them at this particular time. I'm sure you will agree that we don't need to make a speech about what we discussed.
No.
The atmosphere that you see, the atmosphere that you see speaks for itself. Yeah. And I think that is better than if we write something and this and that, because that can be discarded. But this, you can see for yourselves. And thanks that this honor has been given to us to receive you in our home. I hope it continues. We'll be seeing you more often, whenever. The president here is going to be more free now to come and visit me and vice versa. But the ones who have come from outside, it really touches us as Zambians, all of us. Sure, the journalists agree that it's so wonderful to see brothers from other countries showing their concern for our welfare and our unity and our future. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Solemn moment to think of our father that is gone, and you know, one of the things that like I said, I've said this before, Honorable. This dawned on me when my mother died, my father, and the things that I'd just started compiling a book or the history of how my mother was born, my father, and she would from time to time mention this. It was coming together, but before long, she went to be with the Lord. And from there, I coined a saying that when an old man dies, a library has been burnt down. Because what President Lupia Banda knew, as an individual, as a father, as a president, the things, the knowledge that he had, Honorable, the nation needed it.
Precisely. You see, one of it I was watching, and I remembered the love that he had for the people that he worked with. Mr. Lupia, the president, if you've gone out somewhere and he discovered that the police, they haven't eaten, you won't take off.
Really?
The people that he has invited, if they haven't eaten, you won't take off. But added to that, the love for the family. If you wanted to disturb him, you go, you are with papers, government, Your Excellency, I've got some issues here. If the first lady is not feeling well, he didn't even hide. He will tell you, well, go and see the vice president Anampundu Samvela Bwino. He was that type of a person. On a lighter note, you can say, I haven't seen a loving and romantic man like Mr. Lupia Banda. When Wanampundu is there, and I want to share something that touched me. After he left office, he's a former president. He's seated in Makeni, and he decided to call me. Where you going? I know I'm at a farm. Well, I received some goats. Come and see them. I went there. From 9 hours, I spent time up to 16 hours. I didn't find our mother there, Madam Tandiro. She had gone to town. Now, when she was driving, it was on the roadside where we had chairs and we seated. We were watching goats. One of it that touched me up to now, I was watching when he is talking. Madam Tandiwe greeted us, how is home, you know, the usual greeting, and she left. Then he turned around to me and said, "That is my mother." She has looked after me.
Really?
She is looking after me. Even if I'm gone, young people like you, you need to look after. It was so touching that even the moment that I had, I could imagine. One of it that he shared with me, way before that, he was worried about the children. He loves children. Old or young, he talks and very openly about his children's welfare. That he never misses. He never missed, actually.
You know, on a lighter note, you could tell that he loves the family so much, because when Andrew joined the UPND, I still remember our father saying,
you know, here is a father, like I'm saying, the way these people are groomed.
Yeah.
The son was in UPND, we were in MMD. And the son will issue a statement. The man takes responsibility. I remember one time at the rally, he said, "No, don't blame him. You blame him." But when they meet, when you look at the interaction, and when even the love of football, the way he brought up children, if you want to get results, maybe find him not watching football. I remember one time I walked in there and the Arsenal was playing. I don't follow much of this European football, but ask him. He will tell you, well, Sultan Babola, you wait, you have gone with the letter, and you want him to look at it and give it. Says, well, what is Sultan Babola? You wait. Yeah, we want watching it. But I'm getting sad about this child is intelligent. This child is intelligent. And then you see also the first lady running it. Has he scored? Oh, you see the moment they start explaining to you.
You know, he started that academy,
Chiparamba,
which was started by the former president.
Including the wife. She would invite you to go and watch football in Woodland Stadium. They are practicing, you're watching there. The other time it was Zambia practicing in Cheston, stadium? In the Cheston. Zambia was there practicing. We went to Discover. He was greeting, I remember Christopher Katongo, they greeted each other. Then for some reason, he says, "No, it's only my son who's not feeling well. Home." You won't believe it. We deviated the motorcade to go to Christopher Katongo's home to go and see the child.
No.
Yes. That is a fatherly way that this man
As a president.
As a president. Checking out on calling people, a few of my colleagues will testify. Me personally, only maybe when he's out, like at the time, for instance, when he was not feeling well, he flies to Dubai, but wherever he is, he would call to check on you. How are my grandchildren? How are you?
Looking at this kind of a loss, because I remember when President HH won the elections, the two brothers went to President Rupia Banda's home, and whatever was the discussion, I don't know, but there he was as a father. Now that he's gone, there are two brothers. This nation has two brothers who have served as president, the current and the former. What would your advice be in the light of what President Rupia Banda could have done, because he was a unifying factor and he was a father to both of them? He didn't want to see the shedding of blood. He didn't want to see divisions. And one memory I'll forever have of him, Honorable, he had just lost elections. Now you remember that President Sata and I worked together for 26 years, as 23 years.
23 years.
Yeah. Close friends. Even before he became president, he came home in that Chilanga area, St. Bonaventure.
Yes.
He came to have meetings with my wife and I, and the children. Then we had the photos. My children said, Daddy, people would not know how close you were to this man. We just want photos. He comes out, we had photos and everything. But here is one memory that really touches me. President Banda has lost the election. We were at the High Court, and behind there, just before President Sata was sworn in, my wife and I were just behind there. As a matter of fact, I remember one time it was so hot, and for some reason security had forgotten some water, and they got the bottle from my wife to give the late President Sata. But when President Rupia Banda was coming with Kachingwe,
Yes.
Major Kachingwe,
Major Kachingwe.
as he was coming, he was greeting everyone. He was greeting everyone. My wife and I went to kneel and greeted him. Then he moves and goes to podium. Before long, President Sata comes, President-elect, before the swearing in. Now the face, the radius that he had there, I said to my wife, God should bless this old man. You have lost the election. You come to the swearing in ceremony of the man who has defeated you. That hurt, Honorable. What would you say to the remaining two presidents?
First and foremost, let me say this. That election, I was not adopted. I wasn't contesting. But he was always in touch with me. You won't believe it. Even when we saw that we were losing, he called me twice that night. The last call, I'm the one who called. Your Excellency, I want to admit, I said, Your Excellency, don't accept these results yet. You know, I would take it casually, but I don't know what was in his heart. Wewe mwana nkazika mtima. I remember very well those words. The numbers,
Don't lie.
they are indicating we are losing. If we don't accept these results, it won't be you, it will be others that may die. Your Excellency, but there is 2 constituencies which, you put an argument. He put his foot down. The point I'm saying is, even when he was in that state, we were not at State House. He was alone, maybe with a few others. I was driving with my family from Mombala, coming back to Lusaka, when they were announcing those results. But the man still found time to consult me. Who am I? Simple person. I wasn't contesting, but he still found time.
So what would you say to the 2 remaining?
To the 2 presidents, those that we have now, I'll use the term, they are young. When we were opening the program, you said, Takwa Mushi Ababa Kalamba.
Yes.
So, my advice, especially to the president in government.
Mr. Director, please give us the phone numbers there. We are about to open
let him
the line.
look at a bigger picture. Zambia. I am appealing to the president that this is the time to either forgive one another and start afresh. Let whether he is there right now, is our president, to take the leaf from these other presidents. Let him walk to his brother and find a way that we can move this country forward. Tabanga Nordiness, meaning you cannot play around with somebody who's got an axe. In this case, the person who's got an axe is the president. The rest of us, we are being led by this president. Let him reach out to his brother. And his brother too, he must humble himself. He must be ready to advise where need arises. To the Zambians, please let not be the ones to sing a song of these people working apart. Let's work to unite. Because the information that the former president has can be so useful to the current president in order to serve us well.
I think not can be. It
must
very
be
useful.
in the sense that even the president that is there, like I said, we're a democratic country. Maybe people may not know. President Hakainde has 10 years. Like we heard, if the people so wish to say he stays 10 years. After 10 years, where will President Hakainde be? He will be a father that will be looking at. We don't know who is going to be the next president. Why should it be that these people should not even greet one another? Why shouldn't the other one call the other one to ask for whatever? Wrong or right? Ruling is not easy.
Would you agree with me, Honorable Chirima, that to be a president, it's a very lonely job, because most of the people who attach themselves to a president, either they are looking for favors or they are going to destroy someone's character. There are few people who just concentrate on building Zambia or the nation. Would you agree with me that it's a lonely job?
You are very, very correct, Pastor. Lonely in the sense that most of the times you want to see, rather not you want, the people who want to see you are those who want to bring in lies and sometimes want to misdirect. The president must have a ring of people who are advisors, in this case, statespeople, that either have been in government, that either are experts. I'm speaking like a politician. One of it that we need to do is to separate the technocrats and politicians. Politicians, we pretend to know it all. But we must separate this. So I'm saying to President Hakainde that he needs to have technocrats that are going to actually advise him. It doesn't stop there. He too, there are certain things that are going to happen, probably too new to whatever maybe they never come across. There is one that is remaining. There are only two who we can turn around to and say, did you experience this? If they never experienced, the two of them can find a solution. So all I am saying, as we mourn the late president, I'm repeating, appealing that the current president need to reach out. He is the one who's got a key. If you kondo tafikata minwe. Something happens on your fingers, your toes will never reach them. In this case, it's the president to reach out to any one of us. President Rupiah Banda has done his race. He's done his part. We can talk of all good things that he did. Like he said in one of the documentaries, he was not perfect. But he reached out to people. I still go back to the culturally that they grew up with. The way they were actually laid by President Kaunda. President Sata, the people that could be on his plane, he will introduce each by name and who that particular person is. Memory.
And the President Sata seemed to have known the whole country by...
Every corner he will tell you, Uyu Achitilefi, this one did this one did this. The same thing with the President Rupiah Banda. It was the same. You would be actually passing in the crowd and you would see somebody said, where Ulipo? Where? The security would be wanting to protect. Said, where do you think this man can kill me? And they would greet him. You know, that kind of thing. But President Banda, with his experience of being an ambassador, he knew how to reach out to people. Even us that worked with him, he never bullied anybody. He was ready to listen.
Do you think an ordinary person like me, like any other person who haven't worked in government, could be a blessing or could have been a blessing to President Rupiah Banda or the current? Ordinary people?
Yes, ordinary people. I mean, we learn from people. Ordinary people. What the president needs to do is to open up. Let us reach him. People have ideas. They have ideas. I can give an example. President Rupiah Banda, when it came in grabbing the mines, it didn't come out with the us inside there. It came from outside. But of course he is a human being, like President Rupiah Banda. When you are talking, is listening, and if he realizes that there's no truth in it, you know, he would actually say that. But if he finds there's a truth, he would tell the private secretary and say, I've got this information. And sometimes he even ask you to write. The current president, when you talk about the way we can even actually move the country forward, I want to admit is the right president. He has tried it. Talk of business. He can show us how to run the country in terms of business. I'm talking about this economy, which the late president actually did. Whatever he learned, President Rupiah Banda, he would share with you. The Sanfia you're seeing now, it is President Rupiah Banda who took us to Egypt. Nivichani vamene vili kuno. He took us to Turkey. Mwaona kuno. This is just sand you're seeing here. But we have everything. We have water, we have mountains, we have trees. Can't we think of some tourist attraction other than Livingston?
Let's pick up this call, Honorable.
Okay.
Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Hello?
Hello, you are through to Camnet TV.
Hello?
Hello, sir. You are through to Camnet TV. Reduce the volume. When you call, please reduce the volume. You said hello, I said hello. The moment you are through, please reduce the volume and let's talk and follow each other. Honorable, I know for sure that President Rupiah Banda had the passion to grow the economy. And I'm sure because you could tell that the President Hakainde Hichilema, just in a few months that he was president, probably would frequent to visit the old man, or he would call about growing the economy. What must we do for us to get involved as a nation to stand behind the president? And let's pick up this call. Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Yes, sir, you are through to Camnet TV. Who am I talking to?
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Maybe reduce the volume, sir, so that we just go straight to talking. What's your name and where you calling us from?
I am William Katoa, sir.
William
Katoa.
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 Katoa from where?
Katoa from the Pakistan.
Please go ahead, William, and speak to the nation.
No, first and foremost, sir, I want to appreciate you, Pastor Chiluma, for having such a program
Yes,
that
sir.
is ministering immensely to the nation. I also want to appreciate the guests of the program who have been available to share insights on how you have worked under different regimes in this country. The program is so refreshing.
Amen.
Of course, at the time when we were mourning our late Republican President Rupiah Banda, we're just blessed immensely by how his legacy has been shared. And even the advice that the guests on the program has been available to share with the incumbent government. It tells us that Zambia has got immense human resource that can help this nation grow and get where it's supposed to be.
Amen.
So once again, all I can say is the fact that continue with this vision of having this program by the title National Matters.
Amen.
It's helping us to understand afresh our identity, where we are and where we're supposed to be. So God bless immensely, sir, once again.
Amen.
With Madam Pastor Veronica. No, Pastor Mrs. Silver.
Pastor Victoria, thank you so much, William. You are a blessing. You know, one of the security men shared a story with me, close to the one you said the president saw someone sitting by the roadside. One of the security men who moved with him said, President Rupiah Banda is a security risk. I tell you, they were going in Chipata, I think somewhere, I don't know. And he saw somebody in front. Then he opened the window and he started waving at, where could guest house, where? And that's one of the security, so one of the vehicle had to tend to go and pick that.
It was such a person. Before I look the thought of wanting to move the country forward. I still go back the way these people are groomed. President Rupiah Banda is not different from President Sata and all these other presidents. President Kaunda said, you didn't ask me the priority we had at the time. And the priority, President Kaunda, we got independence in 1964. 1965, he opened the first, I don't know if I can call it the first class of faculty of the University of Zambia at Munali. 1966, they opened the university. 1966, every district that was called a district at a time, I remember Mbala, because it was vast, they had 2 secondary schools. What he was saying is, the priorities was education.
To educate.
Because none of us were educated. He said, including myself, meaning President Kaunda. Including myself, I was just a Form 2. So this presidency, I'm talking about President Rupiah Banda. He too jumped on the priority which they had as they were being groomed. President Rupiah Banda was very particular about the youths. And he openly said, I was a youth. I grew up, graduated, did all what the youths could do. And one way the youth said I was lethal in doing certain things. And he was concerned about the youths of tomorrow.
Even, what's his name? The Honorable Foreign Affairs, former Foreign Affairs Minister Vijay, he was appointed as a young person.
Exactly. So
all those people.
Yes, so all those young people, when you talk about the Vijays and all that, President Rupiah Banda, when he was talking about the programs of the youths, one of it that he gave an example, he said, look at our friends in Southern Province, Eastern Province, where we find animals. It's a question of taking, say, 100 animals, and the government goes with a program of inseminating those 100 animals. Those youths will have over 200 after 8 months of those animals, because they are used to it. So waiting for 8 months to have the calves, that the animals dropping, won't be something else. In 5 years, each youth will have animals of his own. He was trying to take us back to the time when they had the rural development arrangement of having factories in districts. We are at it now. When I say we have a president who is a businessman, educated, I don't know if I can call him an economist, who understands the economy, and at the bottom of it, I would say who understands what money is. Let him, for instance, show us how he has managed some of his businesses. It's a media not to mention, but for instance, if he has 900 animals, and he teaches us how to inseminate those 900 animals, it's 1,800 after 8 months. Pastor Chiluba, the youths, what President Rupiah was talking about is some of it, and I'm happy that I'm at Camlet now, where you've been talking about these agriculture programs. We are praying, because agriculture itself, I tell you, sometimes, yes, we need minerals and all that. Sometimes we can even forget about it. These youths that we are talking about, if the president is listening, can ride on what Camlet is trying to do. Plant mangoes, plant fruits, plant strawberries, export them. It's money. Farming is a key. Our current president is a farmer. It's not something that me, a simple person, can even actually educate him on. He knows it best. It's a time of tricking down. The ministers of agriculture needs to up their games, because they can't lie to him. He knows it best.
What would you say were the strong points of President Arabi? What were his strong points as a president in his leadership, and what are some of the things that he achieved within a short time? I know that he didn't live long as president.
Well, he didn't live long, but I will say this. Look at the programs of building, for instance, hospitals, including Levy Mwanawasa. He loved the sport. Look at the stadiums which he completed. He went into the mines. He grabbed the mines, and we saw Luanshya. I have adopted it as my town because that's where I ended my working career. I started business from there. It became like a war zone. Luanshya became alive. The late president, vice president, he too came from Luanshya.
Which one?
Honorable George Kunda.
Okay.
He came from Luanshya. And when we heard of Luanshya, the mines being grabbed, we were very excited. Doubting Thomas thought it would not work. We went to other towns. Chambeshi.
But is Luanshya still working? Because the last time I was in Luanshya, it looked like a shell.
You know, the disturbance of these mines, the people that, for instance, came in, the investors, at some point they gave in, and it's something that even now we're still telling, and we will still want to actually tell, and even this opportunity to tell the current government not to give up, to find a suitable partner. And suitable partners are Zambians. Pastor Chiruba, Zambians can run the mines.
They can, eh?
The people that are coming in the name of investors, something that Zambians we may not know, they come in here and sometimes they borrow the money from here. Who do they employ? It's the Zambians. It's the Zambians running the
Because
mines.
we have experts like Honorable Bob Chinga and yourselves and a lot of people who worked in that mine.
There are so many. In Mupani, I think I met one gentleman, Mr. Sumtenda and his colleagues. They run Mupani very, very well. We have Professor Tanga. You've heard of Professor Tanga coming on the TV. He's a mining engineer. Yamfam Kanga and his colleagues and many other miners. Expertise, we've got it. How many people have we graduated from the time that, for instance, we privatized the mines to now? How many engineers have we employed? If the government is going to say, let's get the bull by its horns and run the mines, there's nothing sinister about it.
We can run
We
without
can run
expatriates.
the mines. Without it, we can run it ourselves. I can attest to it. I mean, I'm still repeating, these investors that we called are the ones, the Zambians are the ones that were running the mines. We can, and in no uncertain terms, we need to go back.
On Monday, National Matters, Honorable, what you are saying, I told the nation when I had Honorable Minister of Mines, one Zambian that I know, withholding the name, he was training expatriates at Nkana. In the 80s, they would come, he's training them. Before long, they are promoted, he's reporting to them. But even as bosses, they were still consulting this man, a Zambian.
Yes.
And the money he was getting at that time, it would be like 2,000 kwacha, I'm saying. And the expatriates are getting about 15,000. So he got frustrated and left the country. He's in the UK and is overseeing over 350 whites under him. But he's a Zambian mine expert. You have such people who have run away from here because they are never appreciated.
Let's move away from that culture. I will adopt the word pulling him down. Zambians, we have geniuses that are able to push this country forward and help the president. Economically, we can turn around things. If you talk about, for instance, the geologists, we have Zambians who are geologists that are leading these so-called investors to places where we have minerals. I must also admit, as much as I worked with equipment that were doing exploration, doing raise boring, opening new mines and whatnot, when President Kaunda was saying, including President Lupia, saying we can mine gold directly, some people will tell you it's a byproduct of copper. It's just an added advantage, but we have gold that we can mine directly. And deliberately, some was reserved for the future generation. Let's not let it loose. Yes, we want mining. Let's not let it loose for every investor to come in. It's a sorry sight. I recently was coming from northern, I had gone to Mbala. When you reach Kabwe, you see Kapili, you see, you know, to my little factories, I don't know whether refineries, dotted around. What are they doing? They're using Zambians to go and mine, and they're refining and taking away our copper. We need to get organized.
Let's find time to do the audit of this nation. President Banda is gone, and we need to go in what you are saying. Go through the country and fix, fix the things that need to be fixed. Because as Zambians, like you said, President Kaunda's priority was education. Exactly. We can't be behaving like we are still in 1965. We have a lot of people who can do the best. Let me see if we have some text messages. Mr. Director, give us some text messages. Unity is very cardinal for Zambia. President HH and former President Lungu, God help them, their hearts to forget the past battles. God help them to move Zambia to great heights. Thank you, Chiti Enoch Chanda. This is a very good message. Evening, Pastor and Honorable. While we appreciate the good being and deed of our former late President Rupia Banda in his absence, is there any negative move that he ever did which you remember, Honorable, that you can share with us? Moses Tuma Lungu. We can't run away from that, but instead of us wasting time to answer that question, I think in one of the clips we played, the president admitted that he made mistakes. You remember that?
Exactly. He said I was not perfect.
He said I was not perfect. He made mistakes. And for us to go and pinpoint that one of the mistakes is this. No. Even the mistakes that he could have made, we should turn it into a laughing matter, like in Jaika Kunyokole, and it's just it's just human.
So some of it would even actually come up and say, Mr. President, this person you are trying to bring closer to you, this one was insulting you. He will turn around and they say, Enzeto kwa iwe. Forget about that. Why don't you learn to move forward and learn to forgive? Those were his common words that way.
Even President Sata. I remember my wife and I visiting the widow, Dr. Kaseva.
Yes.
Then she says, Pastor Sata, let's pick up this call. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Papa. How are you?
I'm permanently blessed. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. This is Ngonga Newton calling you from Maninga.
Who?
Newton Ngonga.
Newton?
Yes, sir.
Ngonga?
Yes.
From Maninga?
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead and speak to the nation, Newton.
No, sorry. I just want to appreciate the knowledge that our grandfather, our father of the nation who just passed away. This is the time of now getting realizing that such people were not easily found in the nation. Today, as I was following how he was carrying his duty when he was in government, I'm somehow guilty. I remember the election of 2011, I was somehow against him, wanted to remove him in the power. So today, as I'm following his stories and his deeds, I'm somehow guilty that why did I oppose such a good man? So the young people, I think I've learned a lot from this big man who just passed away. My advice also to the current president and the former president, these people should come together so that they unite us and so that we see how God can help this nation. May God bless you. May God bless this country. May God bless the current president and the former president. Thank you. This morning in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Newton. That is from Manyinga. Honorable, before you come in, Newton has brought one point which me have preached before, that if you can't appreciate me while I'm alive, enough well or less body viewing already that in but the point is this: I don't know why we have this tendency of appreciating people when they are gone. This is what Newton is saying. When you look at how good the man was, what he was doing, why don't we appreciate people while they are still alive, Honorable?
Well, it's a lesson. The death as it is, and we are mourning. You asked me, what is the way forward? I would be the happiest person today if President HH and President Lungu sit in some place, they laugh about it, joke, and when they come to serious matters, they need to serious matters. I'll use the word quarrel. Let them quarrel inside, behind the scenes, and come up with a solution of a particular thing. The problem that we have is this word opposing and call ourselves opposition. It has created, I'm speaking as a politician. Let's be like footballers. I played rugby, although I didn't play at professional level. You would go in there, hit one another, run, bump into each other. I've never drunk before, but you would see the team going into the bar, and the next they are sharing jokes, buying drinks, and all that.
Without fighting.
Without fighting. Football. Nkana City, Lusaka City, they'll be playing football. Before there, they would tell them, said, you will see what we are going to do to you. 4-0. When the whistle is blown, they walk into the same club and walk in.
Best of friends.
We have an example. I've served in Parliament. To those that haven't been there, I'll tell you what happens. We walk in there as one. Debate, quarrel there, coming out we're at Parliament Motel. During our time, I don't know now because I haven't followed it much, but I would wish it to be. I can give an example with the Honorable Winda. He was in UPND. I stood on a point of order that he be fired from there because he was an NP. When the ruling came in, he walked from his seat and he came to me. Mwana, you want me to lose the job? My driver didn't come on time. Which vehicle did I jump in? In Honorable Rubinda's vehicle. And they dropped me home. This is what I would want to see on the top. The president, they should be able to visit one another. Like you are saying, it will be very difficult in times when the other one needs the other one and they can't talk.
You know, the problem I've also said, and I keep on saying this, Honorable, if you have followed my wife and I, there is a Bemba saying, I keep on saying, that umusungu tapata bantu wakapitao umulomo. You know, the presidents I've saved from Dr. Kaunda on a personal level, including this President HH on a personal level. But you find that these are good people. Now the people around, the people want to protect jobs, who want to paint Pastor Chiluba black, Honorable Siluamba black, Sichinga or whatever. Those are the dangerous people, not the presidents in themselves. They are approachable. You can talk with them, you can chat. But the people around, when you have a person who thinks they have arrived. There was a time we were I was conducting a funeral for Mucheleka's young brother. The wife used to be my church member. And the President Hakainde came in our church. And I finished preaching. And after body viewing, protocol is observed. He moved out first with his entourage. And as people were doing the body viewing, he was outside. He didn't go. Then I just heard somebody saying, oh, the President HH wants to come and say hi to you. I said, please let him come. He walked back with the entourage, and just before election, and he said, Pastor Chiluba, I couldn't go without saying hello to you.
See, there you go.
We chatted. Even up to now, when I call him on phone, he picks. He doesn't drop the call, but let me phone some people around. Honorable, you wonder like, I think that is the problem I've found, that the people around the president always, for me, they are suspects.
I would admit that, Pastor, but one of it, the attribute to learn from the late president, Mr. Rupia Bwezanibanda, he never wanted that kind of, like, praising him, what I'm saying. Sometimes even when you go there with the praises and whatever, he will look at you and say, well, kamba chamenofu natiala, that's not a kind of. So you need to have a president that is reachable. But let me say this, taking advantage of this program, my advice to my colleagues that are surrounding, in this case, President HH, let them have courage. I'll use the word to differ, but to drive a point. There are two things: to fear the president and respect the president. In this case, the boss. You fear the boss and respect the president. I'm sorry to say, my colleagues now, I doubt if we have any that is able to face the president and argue out a point. You said it's lonely. The president is there, is alone. He needs to be advised. You need to go there aggressive. I'm not saying they should not respect him. They should go there to help him in certain decisions. I gave an example of us that have worked with the President Rupia Banda. You would go there. Depending on the mood that you find him, if, for instance, I said if he's watching football, he will watch football, but he will give you time to listen from you. Sometimes he would say, I have heard what you've said. Maybe before you even get home, he'll phone you. I thought through with what you're saying. I think you were right. Is it okay? We can call such and such a minister. We come and discuss this. You discuss. If it's not true, he will tell you, I've consulted Pastor Chiluba and they're saying this is not the truth. Check your records.
Very shortly, Honorable, we are going to have, in the coming few weeks, we have planned a football match, and I've consulted both the Secretary General of UPND and also of PF, and I'm yet to consult the MMD and all these parties. What that means is we would like all the presidents to come together. Let's have fun. Let's have soccer. Let's play together, because we only have one Zambia, one nation. We cannot be living like Russia and Ukraine. Politically, socially, we are one family. And in the absence of our two fathers, our forefathers, the presidents who have gone ahead, only two remaining, I would only appeal to the Zambian people to ilatualo mulomo between the two.
Exactly.
And dividing them. If anything, let's build the nation. Let's build the nation. Forget about some people who say, iwe, shaka kumone mpaka tukafike na kumanda. There are those in Zambia. But we should not take that to the two presidents.
No. Pastor Chiluba, what you are actually starting, you take me back to my youthful and thinking of the time that I said I worked in the mines. We had the national events, sports festival. It began with ZCM. Then it went to Indeco. President Kaunda introduced that all parastatals must come at a particular time, that they need to mingle. General managers, directors, we all went in to go and play games, whatever games, golf, tennis, all that. So what you were doing, I'm coming from MMD. I'm a founder member, and I'm leading my colleagues that were working with the former president, who did very well at the time when he was the president of MMD. What you are actually proposing is what we need to do. When I see the president of Heritage, I see the president of Socialist Party, I see the president of UPN, sorry, not the general secretary in this case, because the president is, it will be definitely be at State House. But no, if he picks it and he wants to come and mingle with the people, there's nothing wrong in the president coming in. It's 20-30 minutes.
The presidents that are remaining now, I speak from the personal point of view, they still love people, just like the President Rupia.
Exactly.
I know they would find the time even for 20-30 minutes, like you said, to come and be with the people, and we should encourage and promote that. Let me take up 5 text messages, then I'll give you the last words you have to say, Honorable, and then we can listen to the song. My director says no messages. When he says this, is just saying that time is up. Before
I forget, the president's loving people. Let's talk about the current president. It's very exciting. Sometimes I see that advert when you see him riding the bicycle. It reminds him of his youthful, but it also reminds us that this person is equally an ordinary person. I like the way you're saying, let's not spoil this president. This president is not now a political president, he's a national president, he's our president. So these other political parties also, when you are opposing us that are in opposition, we should also look at the decorum that we need to oppose certain things. At the end of the day, let's give him chance, but I'm appealing to those that is actually working with. I'm referring to ministers, members of parliament. Let's have courage in advising the president. Let's not wait until he makes a mistake, then we say, no. Let's go to him. I would speak for myself. I didn't fear, but I respected all the presidents that I worked with. Sometimes my colleagues will even say, where do you gain this courage to go and tell the president? And you go and stop something. President Rupia, when I told him, you can't sell cassava bear, I was with my colleague Chibomba Milim. You can't say Kasaba. The man was upset. We're trying to bring things here. We work to the father of what. Then I said, Mr. President, I've never seen a president who signs on a contract of selling a property. The Minister of Finance is not here. How can that be? So when they gave him the document, I also walked out of the meeting because he was upset. When he looked at the document and realized that they didn't put his name, everything tailored from Minister of Finance for him to sign, then he changes. Well, you want me to go to prison and you'll be happy? I think Honorable Sichimo was right. They started calling, the police started looking for me. He made me to sit next to him. Then he turned around to the investor. Why do you want to come to deceive my people from the ministries that you can do ABCD, which is not correct? Am I the one who came to you that I'm selling this? And Kasababe was saved. So when we see the president, the little that I know, I stand to be corrected. The president decides things collectively. For instance, whatever the late president made mistakes, I am part because I served under him. Better off even for the achievement. I am dancing because he has left a legacy. And that legacy is definitely one of it that they've been singing is unity, to unite this country.
Honorable Sichinga, I can't thank you enough for appearing on Camnet TV. It's just that time does not allow us to go this news, but I can assure you that ushumfa patunono na pafingi pene tetyomfu. What you have offloaded to the nation here, you are one of the assets that Zambia has, and many others. 18 million Zambians, brilliant people. Each one of us, we have a piece to put in this puzzle of Zambia for us to make it great.
I know you want us to close. The agriculture program we have started on Camnet.
Yes, sir.
Speak to some of my colleagues in government. Let them adopt it. That's the way forward. Camnet won't be the same. Go and plant those trees. Let's have the fruits out of it. We'll be rich. Madam Chiluba here was saying we can create billionaires. You have created them. Let them adopt from your program that you've started.
I will try to see them.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and may God bless the good, loving Zambians. Tomorrow we have a national day to go and remember. It's a national funeral to go and remember our late departed father, the 4th Republican President, His Excellency, Mr. Rupia Banda. And on Friday, we will put him to rest. And dear Zambians, let's come together. To pastors and bishops, I can only appeal, let's pray for this nation. There are too many accidents. There are too many deaths. There are too many. We cannot lose presidents like this. Out of the 7 that have ruled this nation, 5 have gone. Dr. Kaunda, it's understood. He left his legacy behind, but he lived for so many years. We are grateful. But surely, let's pray for this nation. I'm concerned. Accidents there, deaths there, what? As we are growing and saying Zambia is a Christian nation, let's also pray for this nation, that God may keep even our 2 surviving presidents and many leaders and elderly people that God has used in this nation. On behalf of my wife, the CEO of this great station, on behalf of the technical people, the news crew, and everyone that is making this station a station to watch, especially you, the viewers, may God richly bless you. Remember, you were born for greatness. We'll leave you with a new song for our president. After that song, then we'll get into the news time. May God bless this Zambia. and may God bless the Honorable and your family and everyone that has saved this nation.
Thank you.
God bless you. Keep watching Kamne TV. Remember, Kamne TV is not just another channel. Bye-bye.
Maendelo lwenu tata Tabie tushe kumabuko yakwe Mahombele chalo chesu na maka yose Tabie ndikane kumabuko yakwe Nero mwase chiputa Mwase chikoko Mwase chalo chiledila Imwe mwase misoa Mwase okulila Mwase Zambia iledila Kabieni mutuse mutikuyo Imwe mwase chiputa Mwase chikoko Mwase chalo chiledila Ichalo chesu chiledila Mwase chipunde Mwase chikoko Mwase chalo chiledila Mwatola njila yosawelela kumbuyo Injila yubabisha motema wangu Nuona monga sote munga welele Tikaseki kumwetezo sekela Nuona monga sote munga welele Tikaweshi kumasiku ya kudala Nukuye wani leo Nakuye wani leo
Wechano walipa Masengena watemwikwa na kwete ine We mushiri Wenalenya ntapo chila mushiri Lelo wantambalalika ine Wefa walilipa Deimu kishaba mwana wasa Bana kila kumushiri waya Batata bachiluwa Bana kila kumushiri waya Yepalume masata Bana kila kumushiri waya Batata wakaunda Bana kila kumushiri waya Tatane mwe lupia Bana kila kumushiri moya Lelo epe kwa Yesu wa Yesu Tusungire ni kwa baba shere